Hi, everyone. Welcome to the LaunchPreneur Experience. My name is Fernanda Farman, your host for this event. And today I'm here with Dr. Ranelli Williams. And we were talking behind the scenes before we start recording about her topic, which is something that I'm very interested in learning. And I have not applied this into my business yet. So I feel like us as entrepreneurs, as small business, a lot of us were not even aware of the strategy that she's going to be talking to us today. And Dr. Ranelli is a certified public accountant and a profit strategist as well, and an author, right? And I'm going to let you share with the audience your background and how you have been helping your clients and about the topic that you're going to be sharing with us today. Welcome, Dr. Ranelli.
Thank you so much, Fernanda. I appreciate you inviting me to be part of this awesome event. About me, outside of, being a CPA and a profit strategist, my husband and I actually run an accounting business together, where we serve professional service providers, and we help them to really make sure that they are clear on their numbers so that they have timely and accurate numbers that's going to help them make the type of decisions to run more profitable businesses. So that's my, main business. My husband and I have been doing this part-time first and then now full-time, but altogether we've been running the business for 9 years. And previous to that, I was an accountant for 20 plus years in corporate America, all the way from, processing financial statements on a monthly basis and being an auditor for one of the big four accounting firms. And then I ended my career as an internal auditor, just auditing various divisions within the company that I worked for.
Yeah, so you have a vast background and you have already worked with small business owners. So I can't wait to learn. The first thing is I learned about the profit first strategy a couple of months ago. And I bought a book and I started reading, but really understanding what goes beyond, the profit first and how to apply and why do we want to do this. I would love to hear from you, especially for us, like if we're, launching a course, a membership, or we're selling our coaching programs, all we think about is the end, how many people we're going to sell to, and we think about that profit. And when we're putting together the launch, we think about all the people that we need to pay, but we never include ourselves in there. And I would love for you to share, first of all, what is profit first strategy, and how do you think that why that's important for us to have that in place?
Yeah, absolutely. So profit first is, well, you can see back there that was the original Profit First book. If you buy Profit First right now, it's going to be a white cover, but it's a book that was written by Mike Michalowicz. And what he teaches in the book is a cash flow methodology that, helps entrepreneurs to make sure that we are putting profit first, that we're taking care of ourselves, because a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we leave profit for last. We, say, well, the accounting formula, that's what it does, right? The accounting formula says revenue minus expenses equal profits, right? And what we have to understand is that what gets put last, right, gets the least attention. And so Mike came up with, this strategy where you actually flip the accounting formula to say revenue minus profit equal expenses. And so now the profit is first, right? And so you put emphasis on it. So every month or every twice a month, you are going to determine how much revenue came into my business during this period. And whatever the profit percentage that you have decided is the appropriate for your business based on your revenue, etc., you are going to take that profit and transfer it into your profit account. Now, what that does, it's that it helps you as a business owner to be more innovative. Like, how can I work within the rest of the money that I have left? How can I make that work for business? And it's not just focused on profits, because paying yourself is another piece. So the profit first methodology says money comes in, and then you divide it into at least 4 other buckets, right? Bucket 1 is profit. Bucket 2 is owner's pay. Bucket 3 is putting aside money for taxes. And then the 4th bucket is what we always focus on, which is our operating expenses.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that is huge, because I never heard about that formula before. And it was really like, my mind, it's really blown away, because always we think about who we need to pay first. And very often what happens is we never get paid, right? And if everybody there is just like me, then at a certain point you feel like you're working for the business, but you're not making any money. So it might as well go get a job that at least you're going to have a life. But with the profit first, what it does is actually compensates you. And one of the things that I always heard is that the business will take all the expenses. You will pay, especially if you have an S corp or a small corporation or an LLC. You want to run everything through the business and take as least as possible, so you don't have to pay as much taxes. How does that work with profit first?
So, this is going to go into, your business structure, right? Depending on whether you have a LLC, you're taking the S corp election, or you actually have, like a C corp, right? But what I want to say is that, with profit first, it's taking all that into consideration. One of the things that we will never be able to get rid of totally is taxes, right? Mm-hmm. Of course, as a small business owner, we want to make sure that we're minimizing our tax liability legally. And so, yes, having a tax strategy is really important. But how Profit First teaches is that we want to set aside a set percentage in a separate account for taxes, so that when that bill comes at the end of the year, or if you're making quarterly payments, you have the funds set aside for that, and that it wouldn't be a surprise to you, as a business owner. So you end up with $50,000 in your bottom line, or $30,000, wherever you are in business, right? As your net income, and now you're at a 28%, tax bracket. So you have this huge tax bill that you didn't expect because you didn't implement the profit first formula, right? Mm-hmm. And so, even though you want to work with your tax accountant, your tax professional, to make sure that you're minimizing your tax liability, you want to also, prepare yourself to, pay whatever taxes that you owe.
Okay. So I think it comes down, as you're saying, we all have different entities, we have different business, we have different employees. Like some people do business out of their home, some people do business in their, they have an office. So that strategy to begin with, it's one of the most important things, right?
Yeah, because we don't want to be caught off guard with anything. Right? We want to make sure that we are preparing, right? And that this helps you have to know your numbers. I recently did a poll, and, like, when do you put your books together is what, the poll in essence asks. When do you do your bookkeeping? I got an answer that says for tax purposes. They do it once a year, in order to do their taxes. One other person actually answered, I do it at the end of the year before the year ends for tax planning purposes. Whereas, someone else says, I did it, I do it all year long for continual business strategy, right? To be able to make these decisions. And that's the correct answer. Your books have to be up to date, and you have to plan for whatever you want to happen in your business. You have to financially plan for it. So even like, we're talking about events here, we want to make sure that we have a budget for that event, right? We want to make sure that we're planning ahead of time, what revenue we want to bring into the business, and include paying yourself. Include paying yourself for the time that you're putting in, right? That should be all built in to your forecast that you do for your business. And that's all part of the strategy.
Yes, right. And one of the things that I talk to my clients about, let's plan, you're always going to be selling courses, right? You're right. So you're always going to be selling your membership or your coaching programs. So if you're doing that, there's no other way to do that as of right now, other than either Facebook ads or hosting virtual events. That's, unless you want to do one by one, super high ticket, and you just invite people into your, your ecosystem. Otherwise, you're going to be doing events. So once you think about, I'm going to be doing events every quarter, or I'm going to be doing events every 8 weeks, every month, every year, then you can then go back, as you're saying, and plan that strategy of how much do I need? How much do I want to make? How much do I want to pay myself first? So how many events do I need to actually host per year before I just start thinking, I just want to put this together and sell it. But without that strategy, you actually just doing things and hoping for the best. That's how I did, honestly. And I'm just I love to be honest. I don't like to sugarcoat things. That's how I did. That's how I have been doing until I learned about Profit First. And it's really taking a shift on the way that if you want to be profitable, as you said, you need to know your numbers. And you talked about tax strategies. So who is the person that does the tax strategy for you? Is the CPA, is the bookkeeper, or is there a specific person that does that?
It's usually not your bookkeeper. It's the person who most people think about is the CPA, right? When it comes to your taxes and tax planning, it's a professional who has been trained and knows the tax law, right? And they're keeping up to date on the tax laws, and just making sure that, and they know you intimately as a client. Mm-hmm. So they know what's going on. Do you have children that can possibly work in the business? Are you working from home? So now we can write off, home office deduction. Are you paying into a 401k or an IRA? How can we make sure we're maximizing this? So you have to have, that close relationship with your tax professional, and, making sure that you are having that strategy at least once a year, and not during tax time, right? It has to occur before year end, because how do you implement the things? Right. And so it should be a little earlier up, so you have time to plan for it. So now you didn't, because a lot of times people can have a net income of $50,000, $100,000 in there on the books, but they don't actually have it in the bank.
No, right? I love what you said, because I did a launch for a coach, and she sold $475,000, right? But she spent $25,000 on Facebook ads, plus another, thousands of dollars on Instagram, Google ads. And in the end, when she paid everybody, do you know how much was left for her? $100,000, because she paid a video production company to do the videos for her. She paid a branding company to do all the branding. The brand, she have to travel to take brand photography. So all of that, she didn't really account. So in the end, yeah, she sold 475,000, but what she brought home was not that. And her goal was to bring home 250.
Right.
But she did not have that in place. She didn't have the profit first. It was just like, oh, I want to do this. Oh, now I want to do that. And it's just, elevated.
Yeah, and it adds up. It adds up. And before you know it, it's gone. Like, so literally what I was saying is that people would have that on the books where there's a net income of $100,000, but when they go in their bank account, it's not there because you may have spent it on something personal or, other, whatever the other thing is. Yeah. So many people I see that would have that large net income. However, they don't have the money to pay the taxes when the tax bill, become due because they didn't plan for it. Right. And so it's just so important to, have a plan in place. Right. And if we were to talk about different steps that you take, I would say create first. You should go into every year with a financial forecast and a budget for your business, right? So this is what I want to make this year. I want to make 500,000 in my business. I want to make 200,000 in my business. I want to make 100,000, whatever that number is for you, it should be planned out. And of course you have to know, based on, different KPIs, et cetera, like how many of whatever it is that you're selling that you need to sell, et cetera, right? We're not going to go into all those numbers, but we need to create that forecast. And then we need to figure out what is the budget. What do I need to spend? That's going to allow me to get there. And you have to map that all out. So if it takes the video production, maybe it does, but does it make sense? Right? And so you have to put the numbers in place first so that you can decide what stays, what goes. Right? So after you create that forecast and the budget, then you need, if it doesn't look good, it doesn't look the way you want it to look, then you need to ask yourself, what do I have to keep? What is necessary for me to keep? What can I reduce? Can I negotiate? Can I get a different vendor at a lower cost? Those are some of the questions you have. And then what can I eliminate? So 3 buckets: keep, reduce, eliminate. And you need to be realistic with yourself and figure out what that is, right? And so nothing should really catch you off. I mean, of course, we're in business and things don't go exactly the way we want them to go all the time, but we should be planning ahead.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And I feel like it comes hand to hand when you think about your virtual events. Having that strategy ahead of time, like Dr. Ranelli was sharing, having that strategy ahead of time. So you know how much you need to make, that breakdown per month, per quarter, and then you reverse engineer all the numbers. And then you're going to be able to know how much is your program, your course, how much is your offer, how many of those do you need to sell? And then based on data, then you can go, okay, this quarter. And like you're saying, if you keep your books, every quarter, then you say, okay, this quarter I needed to make 250,000 this quarter in order to hit, reach my $1 million per year. And then at the end of that quarter, it didn't happen. Why? We didn't sell as many. Why? We didn't have as many people. So now then you can go back and really invest on what was missing in the first time. And then when you repeat, you can repeat with success. Because it's all about consistency and data.
That's the key right there, Fernanda, is that the data is available to you. so that you can make those decisions. If you don't have the data available to you, you're just flying by the seat of your pants, as they say, right? You're just really just guessing as to, what you need to tweak. But when you actually have the numbers, the numbers speak for themselves, and then you can make decisions based on the numbers.
Yes, I totally agree. And so does QuickBooks, is that something that helps people? Do they need to have QuickBooks? Because that's one of the questions that I had when I started thinking about Profit First. Somebody said, oh, do you have QuickBooks? So is that something that people need to have, or should they just go to their CPA like yourself, go to somebody like you and say, okay, how can we do this? And then let you handle everything? Or do they need to have something that they can actually be part of that conversation?
I think, as the business owner, you absolutely should be part of every conversation as it deals with your numbers, right? But whether you keep your bookkeeping in-house or you allow like an accountant to do it for you or a bookkeeper to do it for you, all depends on time and your financial resources as well, right? We all operate in our zone of genius, I think, as entrepreneurs, and there comes a time that you want to let it go. You want to not be doing that yourself if that's not your strong point. For some people, just thinking about the numbers, brings, all this stress and tension.
Anxiety.
Yeah, this anxiety. So why, try to do it yourself, right? That should be something that you are pricing out and, building into your budget. A lot of people don't even try to figure out what the cost would be. They just decide, I can't afford it. But can you afford not to do it, especially if you're not going to do it yourself, right? We already, talked about the importance of your numbers, and having your numbers timely in front of you so that you can make decisions. Now, the next question is, who's going to do it? Are you going to do it yourself, or are you going to outsource it? Or are you going to bring someone in-house, hire an employee that does that, right? And I'm going to tell you right now that it's going to be way less expensive for you to outsource it rather than bringing an employee in-house to do it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things that my personality is I have always watched my numbers. I have always been frugal. I treat myself, but have always been frugal. For some people that don't know how to manage their money, how can the Profit First? What do they need to watch? They pay themselves and now they don't have the money to pay the vendors. Do you take a percentage, or when do you think that a person needs help setting up their Profit First numbers?
If like you said, if it's bringing anxiety to you, and this is not your area of expertise, I say it's right away. What is really important, as it comes to the Profit First, it's not about you just deciding, okay, 5% is going to be profit, 15% is going to be for taxes, I'm going to pay myself 40%, and what's the rest? 15 40% is for operating expenses, right? You want to make sure that you are watching the numbers ongoing. So here's a question that I know a lot of people may have, especially people who right now are not running a profitable business, right? They may say, but Dr. Ranelli, how can I start paying myself or putting money aside for profit when I'm just barely now paying my bills? Right? Because a lot of entrepreneurs find themselves in that situation.
Right.
My answer to that is we're going to slowly move in the direction that we want to go. So if right now profit is 0, we're not going to immediately say, let's take 10% profits, right? Yeah. We are going to scale you to 10%. And so we may decide, next month or next quarter, we're going to move from 0 to 1 or to 2%, right? And then over, let's say 4 quarters, 6 quarters, 8 quarters, whatever makes sense for your business. And that's why it's important, to have a profit first professional, because we have the experience of doing this and can guide you and support you to transitioning from the 0 profit to the 10% that you want, right? From you barely paying yourself anything from your business, but you have all these consultants, etc., that you're paying. You want to make sure that you're transitioning into the space that you want your business, to be. And it may take some time. It may take, a year. It may take a year and a half to get to your ideal percentages. But the thing is, you set that goal and you work towards that goal.
Yes, I love that. And it's all about strategy. It's all about planning. It's all about reverse engineering, having the vision and then building into that vision. Mm-hmm. And that's why I feel like if we try to do it ourselves, it could take 2 years. If we have somebody that understands the numbers, and especially with the laws, like the last thing we want is the IRS knocking on our door, right?
Right.
Then chances are you're going to be able to be profitable faster than if you try to learn all the things. I'm a person that tried to learn everything because I just love learning and I love doing things. But at the same time, I feel like it's good to know. But at a certain time of your, point in your business, you can't be doing all the things because you need to focus on your zone of genius. And when you hire somebody that knows what they're doing, they're actually helping you scale faster, because now you can focus on creating your content, delivering your materials, and doing all the things you have joy and that you know how to do, that it matters to your community. It doesn't matter to your community if you're doing your profit first, but it matters to your community how you're going to transform their lives, right? And you can only do that when you're profitable. So, and I feel like this is all connected. Events, selling and creating the strategy for profitability. So I so appreciate Dr. Ranelli, everything you shared here, because that was for me. I learned a lot. And I really need to start implementing that into my business. And Dr. Ranelli, if you want her support, she is going to be inside of a group, and you can ask her questions in there. You can connect with her in there. And also, she's going to support you with your action items. So, Dr. Ranelli, do you want to share with them what you want them to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in order to, make this a reality for you, right? There's 3 things that I'm going to ask you to do. Well, the first thing is grab a copy of the book Profit First, because you will definitely enjoy reading that. And for those of you who want to actually start out by, a part of what I offered was the first 2 chapters. You'll get the first 2 chapters of Profit First, complimentary. So you can read that, and then until you get your own copy. But, with the Profit First methodology, you are physically opening these 5 accounts, right? So most of us start our business, we at least have one account, a checking account that the money comes to and we write our bills out of, right? What Profit First teaches is that you have 5 accounts minimum. So you're going to have one account that all of your income comes into. You're not paying any bills out of that account, right? Then you're going to open 4 other accounts, one for profit, one for owner's pay, one for taxes, and one for operating expenses. So let's say every 2 weeks, you're going to look and determine how much revenue did I bring into this one account over the last 2 weeks. And whatever your percentages are that you have decided with your Profit First professional or after reading the book, you're going to transfer those percentages into those 4 accounts, right? And whatever is in the operating expense account, that's what's going to pay your expenses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yes.
yeah.
So
it's a discipline that you have to develop, right? Profit is not an event. A lot of people look at profit as, let me see what happens at the end of the year to see if I'm profitable. That's an event. Profit should not be an event. It's a habit. And by doing it this way, you're creating a habit. So number 1, grab the book. Number 2, open up your accounts. And number 3, take action and start moving your funds periodically into the various buckets.
yes, so I love that. Thank you so much. And for the encouragement as well. I would say go in a Facebook group and let her know, what are you going to implement first? Is it buying the book? Is that opening a second account? What is the number one thing you are going to implement first that you learned from this interview? So thank you so much, Dr. Ranelli, for the free gift that you gave to the community. When you registered for this event, you already got access to the Profitable Entrepreneurs Bundle. And Dr. Ranelli also offered the profit assessment with the VIP experience upgrade. So if you want to chat with Dr. Ranelli, if you wanted to get that experience with her and, talk about your profit and have an assessment, make sure to upgrade to the VIP experience and also connect with her inside of the group. And thank you so much, Dr. Ranelli.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.